What's up, my friends? This is Dante coming to you live with a new episode of Welcome to Boxing. Welcome to Boxing is a new series that I came up with that basically answers questions that people have about boxing that they've never known or always have wanted to find out about. Today, I'm answering a question that somebody asked, which was, how many stances are there in boxing? Now, there's historically only two stances, but those stances can be broken down into, very intricate bits. The first stance I'll go over real quick is called an orthodox stance. So an orthodox stance is when somebody has their left foot as their lead foot and their right foot behind them, which makes their lead hand their left hand and their back hand their right hand. So there's different nuances about being in an orthodox stance. People get taught how to have their hand placement in different ways. Some people have their lead palm facing toward their backhand side, and their backhand could be considered to protect their side of their face, to cover their temples and their jaws so to be able to block a hook. Some people have their palms facing forward so they can be able to either knock down a punch and jab over top of that. They can be able to move punches out the way. They can be able to block jabs or crosses in front of their face, and they can shift that backhand to the side to block. Also, people have another stance, an Olympic style defense, where people's palms are facing toward their temples in a neutral position. And that's another way that people have their hand placement. But overall, it's in the same stance, which is that lead foot will be their left foot and their back foot will be their right foot. Now, the other stance that people get taught is a southpaw stance. Now, southpaw stance has about 2 or 3 different ways I can describe it. The first is when somebody has their right foot as their lead foot, and their right hand will be their lead hand, back foot will be their left foot, left hand will be their back hand, and the same principle applies. Same type of hand placement can be applied. You can go from this hand placement to this hand placement to this hand placement, or whichever way that a student can be taught. A southpaw stance is also considered to be a lefty stance. So sometimes they'll say if you're left-handed, stand in a southpaw stance. However, there's one more kind of southpaw ingredient or terminology, and that's a way that somebody says if somebody has their dominant hand in the front. So if somebody's left-handed, they're usually trying to tell people that they want their left hand to be in the back so that they can be able to use that punch with a cross or a back hook or an uppercut. With that back dominant hand would be considered to be a stronger punch with that backhand being your dominant hand. However, some of the best fighters ever have been orthodox and have been considered to be southpaws, which means if somebody's left-handed and they're in an orthodox stance, their dominant hand is their lead hand, which would be their left hand, which that means that they are used to throwing with this lead hand. They can throw hooks off of that, and this punch will be a lot harder when they land with this punch opposed to their backhand. And sometimes people feel a lot more comfortable using their dominant hand in the front. So historically, you got some great fighters that are southpaws. So you have Oscar De La Hoya, which means his dominant hand was his left hand, but he was also left-handed. So he could be able to use his jab and his hook a lot. Same thing with Miguel Cotto. Same thing with Andre Ward. They were all in orthodox stances, but they were considered to be southpaws because their dominant hand was in the front. So again, there's 2 different types of stances. You have your orthodox stance and you have your southpaw stance, and those are historically the 2 basic stances in boxing. If you all have any more questions, feel free to drop a comment below. You can follow us on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're also on YouTube, so you can follow us on Dante's Boxing Gym. Until next time, my friends, enjoy your day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.